Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers.
Welcome.
Right.
Another, oh boy, you pushing buttons over there?
Hey, that's what I do. I'm fucking engineer over here.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to another episode of Sipping on Excellence,
Sipping
y'all.
on Excellence.
Um,
I'm Coach KJ.
Doc.
that he is the doctor.
This guy right here.
The doc.
Dude, 2024.
2024 coming in hard, coming in fast, coming in furious.
Made some changes for you guys on this podcast. We're going to hopefully kick this up a notch this year for y'all.
Yeah. Hardcore grind.
Like we always say, doing more guests, doing more topics that are going to might punch you in the mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
It's time.
Yeah.
Can't sugarcoat it.
Nope.
Everybody that decides to make that decision to take a direction, they usually take off. When you straddling on fences, funny story about that.
Yeah.
Had a good friend of mine, used to be a good friend. So teaching classes, he's a bickerer, gay, tall, black, gay man, great energy for his class, kind of sometimes, but he just kind of like straddled the fence on too many areas.
Yeah.
He said, why you get all the clients? Why you get all the people in your class? Why is your class so busy? You and he named this other instructor.
Right.
And the other instructor, very, very over the top flamboyant.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, dude, you got to pick a lane, brother. I
Where
go hard,
where are you trying to play?
core black. Like, there's no denying you come to my class, you're going to get the music with the language. You're going to get, the energy.
This is who you are.
I'm going to go off on you in class.
Right.
I'm going to push you to the ultimate. He did the same thing his way, but you're straddling the fence. You need to decide, what is it going to be?
Well, you have to also decide who you can't expect people to respond to somebody you're not.
That part.
Just because this shit works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work if you do it.
Right.
Like, I can't be you.
No.
I'm not that walk into a room presence. I'm that reserved, sit back and watch and let shit unfold. If I try to be you, it comes off as like, what's this dude trying to do? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it was when we were this podcast. When we first started talking about it, dude, let's just be us. We can look at what other people do great, but do things great in our own way.
Right.
Without trying to be somebody else's podcast.
Right.
Or I look at what other doctors do, just training to do what I do. I looked at what other physicians did when I was training, and I took bits and pieces, but I developed my own style.
Right.
That's kind of what you do.
But I think what's even interesting about our podcast is you're in front of a lot of people during the course of the day, but this is an opportunity for you actually to just say what
I think all day.
Exactly. And then you learn that I, on the other hand, am kind of, even though I have the presence, even when I'm in the room or when we speak, I still have a step back about a demeanor about me. Like, I'm checking it all out.
Yep.
I'm listening.
Yep.
Oh, well, let me jump in right there. Okay, let me chime in. Let me add a little bit to that.
Exactly.
That's just the way I work.
And it's funny how people have brought up like, oh, well, you speak more than Kenny on the podcast. And then some people say, well, why were you quiet on this episode? Or why were you? Because there's going to be topics that I may be more passionate about. There may be topics that he may be more passionate about.
Right.
If we're talking about something I don't know much about, I'm going to shut the fuck up. Right? Like, when somebody when we have these topics about marriage,
what do
I do? What am I going to speak on?
Right.
Tell everybody how much I don't know. But it's
Yeah.
That's kind of one of those things that
all you have is the assessment from the outsider because I'm married, your brother's married.
I can
to
ask
people that's
questions.
exactly.
I can ask the questions
Yeah.
and hope to gain some knowledge because and that's kind of what it is.
That's what it all boils
Like
down
when
to.
we had Tiffany on here,
Hmm.
I can't talk about what it's like to be disabled. You can't talk about what it's like to be disabled, but she went in,
Right.
you
Right.
know, when we had other guests. I can't talk about what they do. We had Mateo. I'm not a fashion designer,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So we let him talk.
Hmm.
And so people always have their idea of what they want your shit to be. You know what I mean? It's like I appreciate everybody's feedback, and the majority of you obviously like it because you keep asking why do we take time off? Because everybody else does. Can we go on hiatus for a second?
Right. Think about how many people actually only record probably 60%, and they're constantly playing replay, replay, replay. Best, but
They may have one new episode every 4 or 5 weeks.
they also have platforms that are able to put things together for them. This is us. This is it.
Everything you
We
see
put
and hear,
together this.
every single step of it
Yeah.
has been us. We didn't ask for help. We didn't ask for nothing.
No.
This is two brothers in a living room having a conversation. We did get a logo though. That's the help we got,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and it ain't gonna change.
And if he took a while for that, I was probably going to figure out how to make a logo.
You know, but it's one of those things where, man, we've we've come a long way, and we got a long way to go, and gonna continue pushing. Like we said from episode 1, we're gonna keep doing this till it's no longer fun,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or until we run out of shit to talk about. And as long as there is the news, as long as there is social media, and as long as there are people doing dumb shit, asking dumb questions,
yeah.
we're gonna answer them.
And he made it very clear, no matter what happens with this podcast, I still will be here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. He said, no matter what happens, I don't care. You still training my ass.
This is a byproduct of that.
Because it's funny about that because I heard a story recently. LL,
Yeah.
he didn't speak to his dad. His dad managed him originally. He didn't speak to his dad when he had to let him go over 20 years, and they didn't speak literally until right before he passed away.
Yeah, I don't.
It's like you have to, friends, family, whatever it is, if you have ties together, you have to learn how to be able to pull away if it's not working, if it's not advantageous, and be able to say, okay, let's go.
People don't know how to separate business from other things.
Yeah.
I don't play when it comes to that.
Yeah.
If the business ain't working, we're still cool. I just ain't gonna do business with you.
Yeah.
I got plenty of people that I'm cool with that I would never do business with. Man, please.
Yeah.
This shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean, you know one of them. So, I mean, well,
Yeah.
on that note, it's been real, y'all. I'm out.
It got hot. It got hot in here. We're gonna speak our truth though.
Oh man, and we're
just like Cat Williams.
We're gonna get to that. But one thing that we were talking about earlier, and we thought this would be a good thing to bring up as a topic, is this whole concept, and we talked about being delusional and all this stuff before.
Correct.
But what we're talking about today isn't really being delusional. What we want to talk about is people who, this concept of, I'm okay exactly the way I am. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy in my own skin. Love me for me, and I don't, this is it. And I'm just like, stop fucking lying to yourself. Are you really happy? Or are you trying to tell yourself to be happy because you don't want to do what it takes to change to be happy? You know, let's tackle the elephant in the room. Morbid obesity.
Morbid obesity.
You know, I'm not talking about Hollywood fat. where everybody who's not a stick figure is considered overweight.
Right.
I'm talking about unhealthy, morbid obesity, my 600-pound life on TLC, that kind of obesity. And when people say, if I tell somebody, sweetie, you are overweight, or dude, you have a beer belly that's unhealthy. Well, I'm happy with the way I am and I accept me for who I am. You are unhealthy and you are going to die. You are screaming diabetes. You are screaming heart disease. You are screaming a whole lot of things. And I always say, are you accepting this and saying this because you're too lazy to do something about it? Or are you really happy being 400 pounds?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, listen, a lot of those people are gone today because of COVID,
Oh, for sure.
because they were, I'm so, I'm happy in my skin. You know, you see all the reflection, people talking about, oh, he was so happy. He was this, he was that, he was active, but he didn't talk about his already existing conditions. He didn't know that how many times they go get checked out.
Yeah.
How many times they find out that that you have blockage in 60% of your arteries. They don't know.
But think about this. We are in a society where we're coddling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember growing up, if you were getting a little pudgy or if you weren't smart, you got made fun of.
Mm-hmm.
And that made you want to strive to be better. And when people are having this conversation that I'm fine the way I am, and I made a post the other day and I kept it simple. I was like, if I'm perfect the way I am, or I'm happy with the way I am, why do I go get a haircut every week? Why do I wake up and say, I'm going to shave today?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm fine the way I am, it's not because having hair on my head is unhygienic or unhealthy.
Wow.
Popo
I know, right?
in this neighborhood.
Well, think about nails done, hair done, going to facials, all those things. If you are perfect the way you are.
Or and you're happy in your own skin, why are you doing those things?
Mm-hmm.
I made a comment about, so then why do gyms exist? If everybody should be happy the way they are, why do gyms exist? Better yet, why do you go to school?
Mm-hmm.
If you're perfectly happy and content with the way you are and you're perfectly imperfect. I used to say that all the time. That's a mindset for me. I'm perfectly imperfect because I accept me for who I am. And I know that who I am is that dude who just wants to be better on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis. So I'm not perfect, and I know that. And so because of that, I just want to strive to be better.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody out there's like, I'm perfect the way I am, again, why you send your kids to school? Why do you go get a higher degree? Why do you go get a job?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you do all of these things if you're perfectly fine? And so it's almost that it's cognitive dissonance to say, you know what? I'm fine being broke. I'm happy. No, you're not. You're just too lazy to do something about it.
Right.
If somebody came up and handed you $1 million, you wouldn't give it back and say, "Nah, I'm happy broke." You'd be like, "Thank you. I'm happy you're rich."
Right.
You know, if you weigh 300 pounds and somebody said, "You can take this pill and you'll weigh half your weight tomorrow," you'll swallow 3 of them just to make sure.
Right.
But until they came out with that pill, prime example, all these weight loss shots people are taking.
Mm-hmm.
Before there was these shots, everybody was happy with their weight. Now you got people who are just slightly overweight getting these shots.
Now the diabetics can't even take their own
Right.
medication.
They can't get access because of that.
Yes.
But until 24 months ago, everybody was happy with being overweight.
Mm-hmm.
It changes based on circumstances, and if people make it easy to change, then you're willing. If you have to put in work to change, then you say, "Screw it, I'm happy not changing."
I find it funny because, like, I've learned one thing about training is more about sales than anything else. And I always said that I can have, and I've had the heaviest person sitting in front of me. And the first thing I say is, why do you want to train?
Right.
And they'll come back, oh, I want to lose a little bit of weight. Why do you want to train now? And then they'll him and her, but they'll keep sugarcoating like I just need to lose a few pounds or I need to get in better shape. I need to exercise. Okay, why now? And I'll keep going. Eventually they'll say, oh, my doctor said if I don't,
Right.
I'm a heart attack waiting to happen, or my wife is going to leave me, or my husband's going to leave me. I hear it.
And if you take away all those things, they wouldn't be in front of you because
Exactly.
they don't have the desire or the
Right.
want to do it for themselves.
Right.
You know, and when we go around telling each other, "Oh, you're fine the way you are," or we start putting into let's talk about kids. If I tell my niece and nephews, "Oh, don't worry, sweetie, you're perfectly fine the way you are," what's going to happen when they have to face rejection?
Hmm.
Because if they're never rejected or if they're always being told you're perfect, and then they step out into the world and somebody tells them, "Yeah, you ain't perfect, and so I don't want you," how are they going to handle that
Yeah.
when they've always had in their mind saying, "I'm perfectly fine the way I am"?
But like with a child, though, what language would you use? Let's you.
You constantly tell them the things they need to improve. You praise them for the things they do right,
Mm,
and then you tell them the things that they need to
that's
improve.
where I was getting
Not
at.
that they need to do that they're doing wrong. It's, "Hey, good work. Now you can be better at it." Sports, let's take that. "Hey, you got a great dribble going to the right. Now work on your left."
Right.
You know, you can do a great mid-range shot. Now work on your three.
Right.
It's not saying you're a perfect basketball player the way you are, because then you're never going to work on shit.
Right.
So now that you're good at this, do this.
Right.
Start working on this. So you're constantly telling them these are things, as opposed to saying you're a great player the way you are, and then your kid goes and tries out for the team. They're like, "Oh, you can't hit a jumper. Sorry, I don't want you."
Yeah. I'm a I'm glad you said that because I'm a huge believer in adding versus subtracting. You start taking away, you're going to take away that the little bit of confidence that they have. Let's build on the confidence that you have and perfect, quote unquote, to try to go even better,
Oh,
to get
absolutely.
even better.
Absolutely.
I one of the things that, especially with nutrition, people ask, "What should I do? What should I do? What should I do?" Let's start with this. Start with just drinking more water. Let's see how you do with that for a week, and then let's. All right. I'm not going to say take away your carbs. I'm not going to say take away your favorite late night skadoodles and everything else. Whatever you're eating at that moment, let's just okay. Now let's get a morning protein in. Okay, let's get a little bit more fat in. Okay, let's do this now. Adding instead of subtracting. I think that's the best and easiest way to keep people growing versus, you know, you know, you really suck at this. You need to improve.
Right. And the thing is, if you're not good at something, you tell them why they're not good at it.
Hmm.
Here's how you make, or you start by saying, "You're not perfect. How about you tell me why you're not perfect?"
Hmm.
And they're like, "I don't see anything wrong with me." Now they're living in that life of delusion.
Correct.
And now you have to break down that barrier as to why they immediately said that. And if you feed into that, then you're not allowing that person, giving that person the right tools to face rejection. And I think that's a necessary tool because we all are going to be rejected for something at some point in our
You
lives.
don't get a participation trophy for everything.
No. And if we don't prepare people for that, and I think this younger generation, because you don't have to break them down to prepare them for rejection. Like this never say no policy that some of these parents have. I'm like, "Oh, you're out of your fucking mind."
Mm.
I don't tell my kids no. You should. you know? And
They tell you that's the first word they learn.
yeah. And
No.
if you are constantly praising people and never, if you're not being honest, when people ask you a question in your opinion and your opinion is always favorable towards them, and then you're not giving them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, you know what? Yes, and yes, you're great, and I would like to see you do more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying yes, but. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but you're, and because as soon as you say but, they're getting defensive.
Right. It's a takeaway. You're taking away from
Right.
their power.
Exactly. You're like, hey man, do you like how I'm dressed today? Yes, and I wish you would wear more red, or yes, and I wish you
Right.
would wear
Right.
jeans because it'll set it off. Whatever it is, you know, and you can always critique without tearing down, and that lets people realize, okay, this is the reason why didn't I get this job?
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I understand, and what can I do to improve my chances on another whatever?
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's all about how you have the conversation.
Yeah. And when you said that about the job, it made me think about how critical that is if you learn that skill of knowing how to improve upon self instead of accepting yourself to where you are, how you put yourself in a better position of power with that job. Let's say you go in for a job, you didn't get the job.
Hmm.
Maybe you ask, say, you know, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to interview. I understand I didn't get the position. Where are some areas that you think that I can improve upon down the line? You know, what are some things that, you never know if they might give you feedback or if they don't, but they might say, I have to take a second look at this guy down the line. You never know.
Or, well, the thing is, usually at an interview, they don't really tell you right then and there
No.
if you got the job or not. You know, and so if you have the opportunity, I mean, shit. If let's look at it in dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
Say I'm that guy who has never been rejected for any reason as a kid, and I'm growing up and I'm meeting people, and every time somebody's just not interested in me or something, I'm like, that's their fault. It's their problem. It's that. Or it could be just, hey, man, I'm just not attracted to you. And so if you, and let's look at it in the dating, if you, when you met your wife, if she was like, yeah, cool, I mean, you're cool, but I'm not interested. But I'm not interested. How many people would say, well, tell me why? Is there something about me, or it's just that I'm not your type?
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody asks that. They just drop their head because they don't know how to face rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And their ego just says, fuck it, I'm out. You
Right.
know, when it could have simply been, shit, I should have put a breath mint in. You know what I mean? It could have been anything. And you
You
can
got me
make,
thinking, brother just need a tic tac.
yeah, you can be like, oh, I'm sorry. My breath stink,
Many
you know?
apologies.
And so it then may open up an avenue
Right.
for you to get some constructive feedback, you know, in any situation. If
Mm-hmm.
you just ask, okay, I'm rejected, how do I face it? Do I run like a coward? Do I act cocky and arrogant, which makes me even look more like a coward? Or do I just face it down and be like, all right, cool, I get it. I'm not for everybody. What was it? You know?
What's a funny situation is, let's say you're in a relationship long term,
Hmm.
and when someone proposes and it gets denied, why does it just split up after that? Absolute ego? I
Oh,
mean,
ego for sure. But here's
yeah,
the thing. If you're a man and you ain't sure she gonna say yes, you might not want to ask. You should already have had that conversation.
right.
Evan,
I
you know,
100% agree.
I'm not gonna just drop on a knee and be like, damn, I hope she says yes. This is just a formality if I'm doing that. You know what I mean? We've had that conversation. You've already at some point alluded to the ring you would want.
Right.
And you've already talked about, I want to have your kids. I'm not going to go into this blind like we've been dating a couple months. I hope she says yes.
Right.
Nah, it's going to be to the point where you are damn near close to getting on a knee for me. Then I know. Friends are all like, dude, are you ever going to pop the question? Then you know. There are certain things you need to be sure of the answer before you ask it. That's the one thing. That's the one thing you need to be sure of the answer before you ask it. Everything else can be a crapshoot. That right there, you need to know the answer to that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting though is how people face rejection.
They don't.
And it can be handled in many different ways. Look at the guys at the club who hey girl, let me get your number, or however shit they do it nowadays.
You mean the Romy Romes of the world?
The Romy Romes of the world, and they get mad when a woman is like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where you really don't know how somebody's going to respond, and so it makes you not want to reject them right away because you're fearful.
Right.
And then you're like, what do I do? Do I just say kick rocks, dude, or on the other end, do I want to crush her spirit right now? Just be like, it took all this courage for her to roll up on me. Do I crush her spirit and be like, fuck out of here?
Mm.
And what's interesting, women have zero problems crushing a dude's spirit. A woman steps up to a man, a dude will never be like, get the hell out of here. They'll be like, oh, what's going on, girl? Whatever. Even if they're not interested.
Right.
They'll give her some conversation.
They give her some level of pleasantry.
They'll be considerate and nice.
Right.
And so in a world where men face rejection 1,000 times more than women do, just in everyday life, we handle it way better. Yeah. And maybe because people are honest with men. People are not honest with women.
Right.
A fat dude will be told he's a fat dude.
Right.
And an obese woman, nobody would ever call her obese to her face.
Right. They would never use that word.
No, they won't.
She's curvy. She's
obese, fat. She's plus size.
She's plus size. It's they're coddled words.
How many plus size men do you know? Is there a plus size men's store? There's big and tall.
Big and tall. That's it.
So it's one of those things where it's like, how do you, for example, we were talking about a certain comedian who just talks like he can't read, right? Mm-hmm. And do you call him dumb to his face? And people say, you shouldn't call people dumb and stupid. Well, not knowing is ignorant.
Right.
Dumb and stupid is not doing anything about your ignorance.
That's real talk.
It's okay to be ignorant. There's plenty of shit I'm ignorant about. But if you ask me a question once and I don't know the answer, I guarantee you're not going to ask me that question twice and I don't know the answer.
Right.
It's that simple. Pick up a book. Feed your brain. It's pick up your phone and feed your brain. You don't have to go get a book.
Oh, I know.
Google, absolutely. Wikipedia, start there. Do something. But people don't want to do that. People are lazy. And that's where it boils down to. People are lazy, so they get lazy with their diets. People are lazy, they get lazy with exercise. People are lazy, so they get lazy with reading. They don't know what's going on in the world because they get lazy with where they get their information from.
That's correct.
They'll go to one source instead of going to multiple sources to see what's the real.
Right.
And so instead of putting in work, you end up just accepting your space in life, your station in life, and be like, I'm good right here. Are you really good right here? If you were really good right here, you wouldn't keep talking about how much other shit you feel you want and need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the biggest issues and biggest problems is everybody's information is received based off of what they see. They don't take the time to use all their other senses. They don't listen. They don't read. They just see. They see the opinion that they think they want to have,
Yeah.
and it's given to them, and so they don't have to worry about having an opinion because somebody has it for them, and they just say, "Oh, okay, I'm a ride with this." So now you're a proud boy. I mean, because somebody else, this is the way we're supposed to go. You're a Republican because of this. You're a Democrat because of that.
So when you stand in the mirror and like, I'm happy the way I am, you're lying to yourself.
Right, right.
And if you stand in the mirror and say, I'm completely content and happy with everything about me, not only are you lying to yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice because then you say, I don't need to improve.
Mhm. Which is you might as well be dead, honestly, because
You
that's
know, people who do that, forgive me, y'all, that's dumb.
yeah, yeah.
That is just, it
That's that
is.
dumb shit.
That's that dumb shit.
Yeah,
You know, if you're not spending every day of your life trying to be a better version of yourself, I'm not talking about being the person somebody else wants you to be. If
right.
you're not trying to be a better version of whoever you are, then that's dumb
Yeah,
shit.
and we're not talking about
That's just dumb.
yeah, we're not talking about making 20%, 30% leaps and bounds. Just a fraction. Just 1%.
My
1%.
my dude Myron Roll,
Okay.
he says this statement all the time. He's got a book called 2% Better.
Hmm.
He talks about 2%.
Yeah.
Just getting 2% better. And that's you don't need to. Improvement is improvement.
Hmm.
I tell my patients this all the time. When I take care of you, my goal isn't to make you perfect. My goal is to make you better than you are today.
Yeah.
If your pain every day is X amount and after it's all said and done, it's less, that means you're better. You're not perfect, but you're better. Do I want you to be pain free? Sure. Is that a realistic option? No.
Hmm.
That's an exception rather than the rule.
Hmm.
Pain better? Absolutely. That's the goal.
Yeah.
I want you to be better than you are sitting here in my office right now. So if I operate on you and I do whatever it is I do to you, send you to PT, whatever, the whole goal of it all, the sum is to be better.
Hmm.
you know and you can look at this in relationships. There's good and bad days,
Yeah.
but the sum of those good and bad days means there'll be a lot more good days than bad days, so the sum total of your relationship is better
Right.
as it progresses through life.
Right. And don't think that some of those good days are actually good because it's a positive effect. Sometimes it needs a little kick, a little pushback, a little thump on the back and thump on the head to let you know, oh, I need to take a step back so I can see the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
I now know, I now can grow from this. Oh, okay. So when this obstacle, this circumstance comes in my face again between us or just for me, we know how to handle it better. We know how to get through this. We know how to see it for what it is. And we can actually take a step back and laugh at it because we've grown so fast from it.
Yeah, we need to basically stop lying to ourselves and stop lying to the people
But you
around
better
us.
stop lying
And
to you.
it's true though, man. We need to really start thinking about how do we get society to understand that we could do better. We could be better. Stop placing blame everywhere else. Look at yourself and be like, I'm the fucking problem because I'm lazy.
Start with reading. Start with reading. People've got to start reading. Pick up a book. One of the and we don't always promote a whole bunch of people or say one of the best books that you can read to get out of your way is Byron Katie. Just anything that Byron Katie writes. That woman just hits the nail on the head. She had to teach herself that or anything that
Adam
Adam
Grant.
Grant, anything
Anything Adam Grant.
original. What's the one we read
Hidden
now?
potential.
Yeah, hidden potential. You gotta know where you are.
And
You-
if you can't get out of your own way and stop lying to yourself, you're not going to improve because you think there's no room for improvement. Because in your mind, you're like, if I tell myself enough times I'm perfect the way I am, or I tell myself enough times that people have to accept me for who I am and what I am, then that means you have no room for growth.
Right.
And you're already doing yourself a disservice, and you wonder why you're fucking miserable.
Yeah. Stop picking that fruit up off the ground.
Right?
Start climbing that tree. Climb that tree. The fruit at the top of the tree is at its best. More sun. Get to it. Climb the tree.
But they're not going
Figure
to.
it out.
They're not going to. People need to learn how to get out of their own way, dude. They really, really do.
Start today.
Please stop lying to yourself.
Yes.
Start learning how to be truthful and honest with the person in the mirror. That's where it begins.
And that is love. That is absolute love right there. Don't get any better than that, dog.
Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Sippin' on Excellence. I'm Doc.
I'm Coach KJ.
Where they gonna find you, Coach KJ?
At Coach KJ Knows on the Instagram. At Coach KJ Knows. Where they gonna find you, Doc?
They're gonna find me at Lionel Hunt. You're gonna find me on huntspine.com.
That's right.
Check us out every week. We back at it, y'all. We got all new stuff coming at you.
We trying to grow.
Absolutely.
And we gonna go.
And we
'Cause
out.
we out.